Since that was a coffee break, I thought I'd tell you a coffee story to kick things off. Get a little caffeine here in the room. This is a story about one of the world's greatest brands and how they went astray and then found their way again. The brand should be no surprise to you. The brand is Starbucks. Who else is there in coffee? As probably most of you know, Starbucks began as a small little outfit in Pike Place Market here in Seattle. The hero of this story is a young man from the Brooklyn Projects named Howard Schultz. Schultz was selling coffee makers to Starbucks when he fell in love with their passion for tea and coffee and convinced them to hire him as their director of marketing. Schultz set out with a plan. He loved the romance that he saw in the world of Italian cafes and thought he could bring that to Starbucks and change it from being a place where you went to buy a bag of tea or coffee to make it a destination. His vision was that Starbucks would be a place that we would go to have an ultra-premium beverage, hang out with some friends, or do some work. When the owners of Starbucks didn't buy the vision, he quit and started his own little cafe called Il Giornelli. And then in a twist of fate, 2 years later, Schultz bought Starbucks and took over their name. For the next 30 years, Starbucks grew and became one of the world's most respected and best-known brands. They built their entire business on the idea of differentiating a commodity, coffee, by creating a great customer experience.
One of our colleagues coined a phrase a long time ago and said, "We're not in the business of filling bellies. We're in the business of filling souls."
Oh, now come on. No, wait a minute. That's too, but this is a company. This is a corporation.
Okay,
come on.
It is a corporation.
You're blowing smoke now.
No, I mean, this is how we feel. You might say, okay, they're full of crap and you know, this is how we feel. We're in the business of human connection and humanity, creating communities in a third place between home and work.
I've got to tell you, I've been kicking around your headquarters here for the last couple of days, and I will admit, if you'll let me use a different beverage metaphor,
okay,
the people around here really seem to be drinking the Kool-Aid. They really seem to be completely steeped, to use another beverage metaphor, in this philosophy bit.
But it's not a cult. This is a corporation. It is a for-profit business. But our approach for 30-plus years has been unique and different. Not better, just different.
Starbucks' experience was built on creating an unbreakable set of values that were the foundation for everything, around their partners, around the growers who provided them the raw product, and around their customers. Starbucks was the first big public company to give health care benefits and stock options to part-time workers. Their people love working there. They've always paid way above world commodity prices to their growers to ensure they get the best quality product. And the cost of both of those is borne by their customers, who don't seem to care much what the price is as long as the experience is great. In the year 2000, with the engine of Starbucks running brilliantly and profits soaring, Schultz decided to step aside and became the chairman. 5 years later, the then CEO, pressured by Wall Street to drive profits, began opening stores at breakneck speeds and focusing on the speed and number of transactions rather than the experience. The customer and partner experience suffered, and it all came crashing down along with the stock price.
No company is immune from the impact of the recession, not even the one-time darling of Wall Street, Starbucks.
After 37 years of growth, Starbucks is struggling to put the mo back in its Joe.
The #1 threat facing America, Starbucks.
Good for a cup of coffee if they want you to buy a sandwich and a book and a DVD.
In a memo to his top executives, Howard Schultz admitted changes have led to a dilution of the experience and a loss of the romance and theater of Starbucks, opening the door to competitors. This must be eradicated.
Schultz could feel, even as chairman, that somehow Starbucks had lost its way, and he knew that some very tough decisions lay ahead.
We woke up one day, and everywhere we looked, people were lining up against Starbucks. The media, Wall Street, we had a falling stock price, competitors, customers, and even some employees who we call partners had decided that perhaps Starbucks' best days were behind them.
Schultz could see that Starbucks had lost the core set of values that had built it and built its success. And he knew something had to be done, so he wrote an email, a memo to his management team. It was leaked onto the internet and all hell broke loose. including a big decision by the board.
Yesterday, it was concluded that I would be coming back as Chief Executive Officer. I can see the light. I know what we have to do. We have to show up. We have to do the work. And what doing the work means is that we have to find answers to tough problems. I apologize if anyone in this room feels that we have fractured the culture and values of the company by what has happened over the last few weeks. It's a decision that we had to make. Together, we have to turn this page. We have to go forward.
Just what had happened to Starbucks to cause it to lose its way so suddenly and so dramatically?
I think growth and success, which was 15 years running, had put us in a situation where, and this is not an anomaly, I think many companies go through things like this, where success and unbridled growth and development covered up mistakes. And at the end of the day, I think the company was measuring and rewarding the wrong things. And I felt the essence of the company, which was always focused on the customer, was somehow being subordinated by hypergrowth and the fact that in a way, not directly, but in a way, the company had become complicit with Wall Street. And what I mean by that is that the stock price, the PE, and other aspects of trying to produce long-term value for the shareholder was somehow the milestone in which the company was doing all of its work. The soul of the company, I just felt, was being evaporated by what growth represented. And growth cannot be a strategy, and it became a strategy. Growth has to be the outcome.
After painfully closing hundreds of stores and laying off thousands of partners, Schultz took to the road to speak to the remaining partners, to speak to as many customers as he could, and to speak to the farmers who provided product. And then in an unprecedented move, they closed every Starbucks in North America one day so they could retrain 100,000 partners on how to pour a perfect espresso because he felt the quality was deteriorating. The cost of that was $10 million. He then brought 11,000 team leaders and store managers together in New Orleans. They donated 50,000 hours of community service to the community of New Orleans to help after Katrina, and then he brought them all together as a group to try to rekindle the spark of Starbucks.
The power of this company is you. And we need to recognize as leaders, unlike any other time in our history, that this is a seminal moment. In a way, it's a test, a crucible, a challenge of how we are going to respond. So please, remember what you've experienced here. Remember how you felt. Remember the words that you wrote on the commitment wall. And when you get back, please do not be a bystander.
The cost of that, $33 million and worth every penny. Schultz was a man possessed. He traveled the world talking to partners, talking to customers, and he could feel the morale of the partners come back. The product team had a couple of big hits in a row, and the combination of those brought customers back to the stores. The stock price took off, and today is at record highs. And during all this, Starbucks learned something very important. They realized they had lost touch with their customers. So through this, they became one of the best organizations in the world at using the internet and social media, not just to connect with their customers, but to create dialogue with them. And they're confident that that dialogue is going to prevent this ever happening again.
I've been criticized over the years for strongly believing that building shareholder value and making money is a pretty shallow goal if it's not linked to creating value for your people and giving back to the community. Starbucks' greatest strength over our 40-year history has been the relationship we have with our people. In the book, I talk about the fact that if you strongly believe in your core purpose when things were going right, then you certainly have to believe in it and depend on it when things perhaps are most challenging. I didn't want to transform the company and succeed financially and then wake up one day and realize somewhere along the line we lost the values, the guiding principles of the company. And so what I'm most proud of is the fact that we've returned it to record revenue and profitability. At the same time, we've preserved without question the culture and values of the company.
And what are the lessons out of the Starbucks story for those of you who are business leaders? I think there are three. Number one, values create value, not the other way around. Every great company in history has had a core set of fundamental values that are unbreakable, that are the foundation for the company, and that everyone in the organization knows and can recite and lives up to. Values create value. Number two, as Schultz said, growth is not a strategy. Growth is the outcome of a strategy. If you pursue growth, if you let Wall Street drive your business, he will tell you you're doomed. And number three, and most important for all of you as individuals and for your teams, as Mary Kay once famously said, the speed of the leader is the speed of the gang. What Schultz showed by coming back in personally is his belief and commitment became the belief and commitment of everyone in the organization. And the hard lesson for all of us who are business leaders is what we do or don't do, what we say or don't say, the values we live or don't live, those are the values that all of our people have, and those are the values that your customers will see in you. To me, those are three pretty powerful lessons that I hope are all of value to you as you go on this growth trajectory building your business in the cloud. And with that word from one of the world's greatest brands, I'd like to bring Marco Lehman back up to get on with the next part of the show. I'll see you later. Thank you.